Without further ado, I'd like to pass things along to Samuel Mormondo. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I just want to first welcome everybody to this presentation. AI has garnered a lot of interest, obviously, since its release in November of 2022. And we've been doing a lot of work in this area. And I just want to say from the outset that we are in this learning journey with you. We are by no means experts in certainly the back end of AI, but even as much as we dip our toes and our hands into AI, we know we're just scratching the surface. A little bit about me. Again, my name is Sam Mormando. I'm the Director of Technology, Innovation, and Online Learning for the Garnet Valley School District. I've been with Garnet Valley for about 10 years. Before that, I was an instructional coach and classroom teacher, and also an adjunct professor of communications. Garnet Valley, if you're not familiar with it, it's about 20 minutes or so southwest of Philadelphia on the border of Pennsylvania and Delaware. Great place, great school district, super innovative, forward thinking, have awesome teammates who I work with. And a lot of what I'm going to share today is the result of the collaboration that I had with them, from our school board to our superintendent's office to our faculty and staff and even our students. Besides Garnet Valley, I'm also the founder and executive director of Advative Learning. And Advative is a nonprofit, as Doug mentioned, that gives me and some other members of our team an opportunity to not only take the work that we're doing at Garnet Valley and spread it nationwide, but also to give me an opportunity to go visit and work with schools to bring back what they're doing really well to the school district where I work full time. Because I have this belief, and I always had this, that if you're in education, we're in this fight together. And it makes no sense to me that we're constantly reinventing and duplicating the work when it's much easier that if we come together and we share this and we collaborate in a way that makes all of our jobs easy. Advative gives me the opportunity to do that. I was fortunate enough to earn my doctorate at Widener University. I did my dissertation in the fall of 2022, and I can't prove this. However, I can make the case that I may have been one of the last people to ever write a dissertation without the help of AI. Now, I'm not bragging, because I know certainly if I had the AI tools, my dissertation would be a heck of a lot better than it probably is. But I think it's a pretty cool thing to be able to say that I was probably one of the last people to do that. Moving down that list, because of the work that I was able to do in my team through Advative and Garnet Valley, we were awarded the Innovator of the Year award by the United States Distant Learning Association. And that we take great pride into that, because the pandemic was difficult for everybody. And the work that we did leading up to the pandemic really helped our teachers at Garnet Valley and elsewhere manage that drastic change in our lives. And then the last piece there, as you can see, we published our first book in the fall of last year called Effectively Designed Instruction, which is about being proactive in how we're thinking about going into lesson planning and instructional design, whether it's face-to-face or online or blended. And I start with that biography. Number one, I'm super proud of those accomplishments for myself, my team, and the colleagues I work with. But number two, I recognize that everybody here is giving up part of their day, right? It could be their lunch, it could be some other part of their day. And I want to make sure that you're in good hands, that we take this stuff seriously. We're passionate about education. We're passionate about leveraging AI tools to make ourselves more efficient and to really personalize learning for the students that we have, that we're in charge of. So I wanted to share that as well. So today's agenda, we have three real components to this afternoon. One is we're going to share what we're seeing in schools today. That's K to college. Most of our work is at K to 12, but we do work with some higher education organizations and institutions through workshops and keynotes and webinars like this. So we do get a sense of the culture and the concerns and the challenges in higher education as well. We're going to spend just a brief time on the benefits and challenges with AI. This is constantly changing. I'm guessing if you're here today, a lot of those benefits and challenges. We may have some folks that are new to AI, and we want to make sure that we're touching on those topics as well. And then finally, today's topic, the bulk of it is using AI and the potential of AI to really personalize learning for the students that we're in charge of. A few housekeeping items before we begin. We're going to try to make this as interactive as possible. So to do that, we'd like for you to use the chat feature to answer any questions that we pose or just to interact in other ways. The Q&A feature is also enabled. So if you have a question about a topic that we're presenting on, or maybe the question that we haven't touched on a topic, please throw it in the chat, or I'm sorry, throw it in the Q&A, and Christine and I and Doug will certainly do our best to answer it. Today is the first part of a two-part series on AI. Today we're talking about personalized learning with AI tools. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about how to make ourselves more efficient as educators, as administrators, as teachers, and the like. The last thing I'll point out on your slide is the website, advative.com/NEDLA24. There's a QR code there as well for you to have a copy of today's slides. We'll also update Thursday's slide deck there as well. And there's a bunch of free resources for you to take away. To kick today's webinar off, I want to pose a question to everyone. Of the 4 topics that we're going to talk about this week related to AI, which one or ones for you is most interesting? Which one do you want to learn more about? Which ones do you maybe have concerns about? A is what's happening in other schools. B is benefits and challenges that we're seeing. C is AI tools for personalized learning. And then D is AI tools to maximize efficiency. So if you wouldn't mind taking just 30 seconds or so, put in the chat A, B, C, D. A, again, I'll go back. A is what's happening in other schools. B are some of the challenges we're seeing. C is tools for personalized learning. And D is to maximize efficiency, which will be Thursday's topic. Okay, so I see a good mix. I see a lot of Bs, which are some challenges and some benefits. Good. Thank you. Thank you for everybody for doing that. So I want to start this first part of the webinar with what we're seeing in schools. And again, we have an opportunity, unique opportunity to work with Garnet Valley staff and students. There's 1,000 or so staff, 400 teachers plus auxiliary staff. We have about 4,000 students. And then we have an opportunity to work with schools all throughout the country. We partner with through Advative. So we really get a sense of what's going on in classrooms. And one of the main things that I see with AI is teachers, educators, not just teachers, all educators, tend to view AI as this binary choice. They either view AI as the fire-breathing dragon that's going to burn down the world, or they see AI as the knight in shining armor that's here to save us and to fix all of the issues in education. And to be completely transparent, I've been on both sides of this. So when AI first came out, I immediately saw all the benefits. And I went, this is unbelievable. It's a game changer for me as an administrator, as an educator. I can use this to do everything that I really struggled with in the past. And then the more I learned and the more I was able to get my hands into AI, I started to see it as that fire-breathing dragon. And I started to see the risks that it posed to students and to a school district and to just in general and humanity, the environment we'll talk about in a second. But where I am today, and I'm pretty comfortable where I am, I'm somewhere in the middle. I see the benefits. I also see the challenges. I also see the incredible opportunity that AI brings to educators to do things for the first time that we really haven't had the ability to do, and we always wanted to do. So I see it for that. I also see it as a potential issue for a lot of students and a lot of families and a lot of schools, that if we don't get ahead of it and start having conversations now, that we're certainly going to pay the price down the road. My work at Garnet Valley and elsewhere is to kind of balance both of those things, bring these tools to our teachers, train them up on how to use these tools, at the same time have conversations with students around the ethics and appropriateness of using AI when and where it's appropriate. The second thing that I see, and this isn't true just to AI, it's true in change in technology in general, is what I call the anticipatory anxiety. It's that heightened fear about events or situations before they happen. So when we first brought iPads to our classrooms, or the internet, think back to then, people were really anxious about what potentially could go wrong. And as educators, we're constantly looking for what could go wrong because we want to plan for those instances so they don't happen. But when AI came, it immediately cause a lot of anxiety with teachers, administrators, school boards, parents, students. And what tends to happen is you start to make up things that are ridiculously impossible to happen or so far-fetched that it's really not worth your time even thinking about, because there's other more pressing issues that we need to address. And what happens a lot of time, at least in my experience, is when there's that heightened fear of anxiety, it causes people to do nothing. It causes people to maybe block AI in their schools, or cause people to not use the technology or learn about it that can really benefit them. We do the best that we can to try to anticipate this anxiety that we know is going to happen, whether we're meeting with our school board or our administrator colleagues or just our teachers. And this anxiety's been around forever, right? It's not unique to our world and our culture. Here's a quote that's attributed to Plato. And his thing was, the invention of writing will produce forgetfulness in minds because people won't be practicing their memory. And then even into the Middle Ages, the printing press was used, and there was some anxiety around there because it was going to make people more lazy and less studious. So the anxiety's been around forever around this change in this technology. And there's a lot of reasons I believe there is. We won't have time to go into it today, but just know that if you fall into that category, you're not alone. A lot of people certainly fall into the category of being anxious about this. Another thing that we're seeing is teachers are concerned that AI is going to replace their jobs. And I totally understand the initial reaction around this. I couldn't disagree more. There's nothing, in my opinion, that's more personal, more human than teacher-student relationship. I mean, just think about all the human interactions a teacher has with students every single second of every single day. They're constantly reading body language. They're constantly probing, asking questions to see if students are absorbing and understanding the content that the teacher is delivering. They're constantly looking for different ways to make connections with students. Teachers are the best role models in most cases for students. So AI doesn't have the capacity, in my opinion, to replace teachers. So I understand the concern, but I believe that education is such a human endeavor that this is something I don't necessarily think we need to worry about. At the same time, I'm going to quote Scott Gallo, who I follow, NYU professor. AI won't necessarily take your job, but his belief, and I believe strongly as well, that someone using AI could or will. For those reasons alone, it's imperative that we start to learn and embrace this new technology, whether it's AI or something else, because we never want to get left behind. We never want someone else to leverage these technologies and do the job that we're doing, just maybe to a different level, right? The other thing that we're seeing, and Christine Gumpert, who's on the call with me on the webinar, who will introduce herself in just a minute, she likes to say, let's address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is AI will cause students to cheat. And absolutely, we get the concern. I am not trying to minimize the concern at all. I understand it. And in some cases, it's accurate and true. Not too long ago, I think in February, this survey was released of the top 10 challenges for instructors in higher ed. And if you compare on your screen 2022 survey results to 2023, if you look at pre-ChatGPT, those challenges for instructors in higher ed: providing timely feedback, identifying high quality materials, providing practice for students, adjusting content level to meet the student needs. Those things existed 2022 and years prior, and they're concerns, they're challenges, because they're not easy things to address in any classroom. And this is geared towards higher education, but I think it's not too much of a leap to assume and make the connection that K-12 probably falls right in line with this. But then you look to 2023, and you can clearly see a 28% increase from 15% of instructors in higher ed considering preventing student cheating as a challenge, to now 43% saying that's their number one issue. So again, this is clear and obvious to me as someone who works with teachers all of the time, that this is absolutely a concern. Now, one of the things that I want to do is ask you to go back into that chat, if you wouldn't mind, is everyone's different in their opinion of this. And I'm just curious to see where you believe in your role, where do you fit student cheating in terms of the top challenge for you? Is this number one, as it is for a lot of faculty? or is it somewhere else down the list? So I see Dominique somewhere down the list. Samantha, same thing. Caitlin down the street. Okay, awesome. While we're on the list, Alexa, awesome. Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed because the teachers we tend to work with, the instructors, this is still a main priority, right? So it's great to hear. Now, I do want to say this. The early research does not support this concern, even though, Denise Pope out of Stanford Graduate School of Education published one of the earliest pieces of research around cheating with AI, even though the number of students who cheat, who self-report that they cheat, is still ridiculously high at 67%, that the actual number of students, the percentage of students, has actually gone down slightly since ChatGPT. And there hasn't been enough research in this area, but I believe one of the main reasons that we're starting to see a decrease in cheating post ChatGPT versus prior is because the first time in a really long time, we're having conversations around what is cheating in 2024? What does cheating look like with AI? As an adjunct professor or a high school teacher myself, or even visiting classrooms, I know that the topic of cheating rarely came up in classes. And when it did, it often came up after the fact. But now we're starting to have conversations proactively around what constitutes cheating. And I think for that reason alone, we're starting to see a decrease in that area, right? Moving on to the presentation, I certainly want to get to the main focus, which is AI and personalization, but just based on your results in the chat earlier, you do want to hear about some of the challenges and some of the benefits that we're seeing. I want to spend just maybe 5 minutes or so on this section. Number one, as an administrator and someone who works with schools, the biggest challenge for me, I'm driving in the fog right now. I've been through a number of change initiatives in my district, from iPad integration to LMS integration, new student information system, the pandemic, and now AI. I know what this looks like. I know the steps that we need to take to bring people on board and to get consensus and to train teachers and to make sure students are using all of these tools appropriately. I know those things. We all do. But I can't see it clearly because I don't know exactly where AI is going. And sometimes I don't even know where it's coming from. So I'm driving in the fog. I know the road, I've been on the road before, but I just can't make out the stop signs, right? The second thing, a challenge for me and everybody for that matter, is AI is not perfect and it's built with bias. And there was a recent issue with Google when they released their Gemini, their latest update on Gemini, and people went to Google and they typed in, give me 100 images of doctors. And the AI returned close to 100 images of older white men as doctors. And then they said, well, that probably doesn't seem right. Let me try a different way. Give me 100 images of flight attendants. And then returned close to 100 images of young female white flight attendants. Someone might say the AI is trained on millions of pages of information and data. And for a really long time, the majority of people who fit those professions were older white men or younger white women. Okay, that you can make the case for that. But then you get to the third example where people put into Gemini, return me 100 images of people on social services in the United States, programs like welfare. And it returned close to 100 images of peoples of color. So that's obviously wrong because the great majority, close to 80% of the people in America on social services are white. So there's obviously not training data to show that it was justified to return that image. So we still have issues around bias, and we have to always be conscious of that. So that's an issue. One of the things that I constantly want to reinforce to our teachers and parents is this notion of the Elijah effect. And if you're not familiar with it, Essentially, Elijah was the very first chatbot in 1966. I didn't know that until I read about it, but it's fascinating. It was that long ago. But the Elijah effect is as the AI gets better and more accurate, people have a tendency to falsely attribute human characteristics to this technology. And I've been guilty of this as well, right? But I can just imagine kids going home for homework, teacher teaching a math lesson during the day, kids going home for homework, doing some math problems with AI. They come back the next day and they tell the teacher, oh, you had it all wrong. The AI told me this, without the clear understanding that the AI could be wrong and the AI isn't always right and the AI isn't human. That could be an issue. We've all had, my kids, when they were teenagers, we've had debates at the dinner table. And I'd say, where did you find that information? On the internet? It's true. So I can imagine how difficult that conversation is going to be in the future, where it's not just the internet, it's AI and all the millions of pages of data that encompasses it. Last thing I want to say about some of the challenges is the environmental impact. So I'll try to parse out this infographic on the screen. So when ChatGPT 3 was going through its training modules, the energy and the impact to the environment was so extreme that they started to measure the CO2 output of this. ChatGPT, just to be trained, produced as much CO2 as 112 cars driving on a highway every single day for a year. That's crazy, ridiculous, the amount of environmental impact. As we move into images and video, which is the next evolution of AI, a recent study out of MIT found that just to produce one image, AI-generated image, consumes the same amount of energy as charging your cell phone from 0 to 100. So this is one area that's often overlooked that we certainly have to get ahead of. If not, then all this productivity and efficiency will be for nothing because we're just ruining everything that we've built up trying to protect the environment over the years. Quickly, there's a lot of benefits. Outside of being super smart, AI is already 20% more accurate in reading mammograms. The financial and banking system has saved over hundreds of millions of dollars using AI to prevent fraud. The supply chains companies, the manufacturers across the country are using AI to optimize their delivery schedules and their routes and reducing fuel costs and things like that. There is a lot of benefit to AI. There still remains, and in my opinion, will always remain a lot of challenges related to AI. I wanted to just spend some time in the beginning of today's webinar just to address those things because I know there are concerns for a lot of people. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. To stay up to date about future Ed Talks and other presentations and workshops, be sure to follow us on social media. Links are in the description. To be part of future Ed Talks, please consider joining our PLC. It's as easy as visiting edvative.com and signing up for our weekly newsletter. From there, you'll have access to our educator community that shares best practices, brainstorms solutions to common challenges, and is passionate about building upon each other's ideas. You'll also have numerous opportunities for professional growth. From webinars to workshops to networking events, we'll keep you abreast of all the latest trends and give you the skills to implement them effectively. Again, thank you for watching. And remember, the hardest part about change isn't adopting a new mindset, it's letting go of the old one.